I serve the flaming fist!
Enough. What is up? Oh my goodness. It is Tuesday. Here for our little Tuesday talk series that we've been doing. Hopefully everyone's having a good one. It is raining here in Illinois, so if there is any sort of interruptions on the connection side of things, I do apologize for that. But Mother Nature does not like me very much, it seems. But I hope everyone's doing good. Hopefully everybody had a good July 4th. Got to spend it with friends and family. And if you didn't get to do that, hopefully you got to murder something in a video game very violently. Because that's what I usually do. But who all do we have here so far? We have Columbia here. We have Awesome Jeff. Rocket, Gabe the Gen, Batzilla. Hopefully more people come in as well. And for those who say I don't drink water, that's what this is. I have this weird thing. I don't know why that I'm like this. But for some reason, every once in a blue moon, I get tired of like the water additives that I drink whenever I drink water, right? Because usually you guys see me bust this thing out. Like my usual water bottle. This thing is like a third of a gallon, right? Or is this a third or a half? I don't remember. I think this actually might be a half. And I usually will go through 2 of these in a day. You know, I usually drink about a gallon of water. And I don't know why I got sick of like the Mio stuff that I always put in it. So like I just want to just drink water, you know? So I just got some normal water, out of my Brita filter, the pitcher that I used to fill this, right? And it tasted like tin. I'm like, fuck, I gotta change the filter. And I was a little short on cash, so I'm like, you know what? I'll hold off for now. I'll just buy a bunch of normal bottled water and go from there. Because this stuff's like, I got a thing of like Nestle Pure Life is hardly the best stuff you can get, but I got like 40 some odd fucking bottles for like $8. That's a steal. So yeah. Wow, it looks like the rain already ended. That did not last very long. Honestly, right now, this is kind of the issue that we're having in my neck of the woods is, and this is a common thing in Illinois, is that usually, like, during the hotter seasons, what will happen is that you'll have a streak of super hot, super humid days, right? And then it rains, and then it cools off for a while. Lately, the problem that we've been having is that it will rain, and then it will stop raining. Like, it'll just rain very quickly, like a quick cloud burst, and then nothing else happens, and then it just stays humid. Those are the worst fucking years, and it looks like we're in for one this year. Because, like, the projected forecast is that it's going to be hot as balls for the rest of the week until Saturday. Then it's going to cool down. And then it's going to get hot as balls again until the end of the week. So, if nothing else, like, the weekends will be nice. But, Jesus Christ. While I'm in here trying to work, I'm going to be sweating like a fucking pig. So, that's fun. But, yeah. Hopefully everybody's having a good one. Also, let's see if Stream Elements will allow me to replay this. It is not. That's weird. Is it only doing it during... Hold on. Yeah, that's really weird. It's not letting me... Anyway, I wanted to... Then we'll just say a thank you. I just want to say a thank you to... We have a new member. Kay Kinsella. I think that's how it's pronounced. So thank you so much for joining the membership. Very much appreciate it. Gotta get you a mobile AC. If I could have one in this room and my bedroom, it would be perfect. It honestly would. But sadly... I am not so lucky. So, will you sweat more than vouch at a kid's section at Walmart? Oh, Lord. That dude's a creep. The funny thing about that, over the weekend... I was playing through the Horde mode on Space Marine 2 with Boss and Brain, because both of them are in my Discord server. And we actually got into the discussion about that. And I have come to the conclusion, whenever it comes to anything 40k discussion, that Reddit has, like, poisoned it in a lot of ways. Like, I kid you not, like, the whole... Redditor argument about Warhammer 40k and what it is, not only is it ridiculously off base, like now we have people that are just like parroting it for cheap fucking content, you know? Vouch is a happy man as Japan normalizes horse girls. I was actually watching a streamer play that a couple of nights ago, and I was like, "This is you have anime waifued horses." So now we're at a point where there's going to be a moment where, because I don't know about you guys, one of the insults that we used to have whenever I was younger, because I lived in the country for about a good 6 years, right? 6-7 years, something like that. Like, our usual insult for an ugly woman was, "You're as ugly as a horse." But now the horses are cute anime waifus, and it's like, God damn it. Well, there goes that insult. So. Orc Cities, didn't Gaijin Goomba do an Orky or not on Doom Guy? I don't know what a Gaijin Goomba is. So I have no clue what even that means. It's like, what the hell is even that? No, Orc City. So let's talk about this, because this was really funny. So let me find the tweet. So there's this dude on the Twitter who goes by the name John A. Douglas. And a lot of people roasted this dude for his statements. So he goes, and this is sort of the thing, like, it's kind of like clockwork. Is this dude who he kind of looks like generic beard man. This by the way is like the generic beard man like photograph. Wearing a hat, having a beard, drinking coffee, but something has to be in front of you so that you know it's coffee and I guess not semen or something. I don't fucking know. And it's almost always in like black and white. So, cringe, first and foremost. But this guy decided to go onto the Twitter and says, whenever someone glazes Hideo Kojima, remember he once made a boss character that's a lard ass in a bomb disposal suit, riding around on rollerblades and sipping wine from a wine glass with a straw. His name, Fat Man. Genius. Except Fat Man's the name of a bomb. Like, it's a reference to a I honestly thought that he and Douglas Ernst are the same guy. Yeah, it wouldn't really surprise me. Joel Palmer throws in $1 via Super Chat. Thank you, Joel. But so cringe. It's like a suburban housewife. That's basically what it is. It's the white guy version of the suburban wine mom, you know? But, every person in Dead Cell, their name was a double entendre, or it had a second meaning to it. Yeah, you mean the bomb that hit Hiroshima? Exactly. See, he's trying to please Daddy Razorfist. That's what I'm assuming. You know, because here's the thing. If you're going to go over, like, and mock Hideo Kojima's naming conventions, I can give you ones that are honestly pretty silly, and I would never call genius, and I'm a Kojima fan. And it's Death Stranding. Death Stranding has a few of them. Like Die Hardman. Let's see here. Like, a lot of them are just very, they're very on the nose. Heartman. His whole thing is like his heart goes out and it goes out like once an hour. Who else was there? I mean, there's a whole family in the story where their last name is Strand and it's Death Stranding. Like, it's like Death Stranding. I've never finished the original. I need to. I'm starting to play back through it again. but like a lot, there's some naming in it that just is like just weak. You know, that could have been done. It's just very on the nose. How is Death Stranding still a thing? It sold really well. Like, it sold really, really well. Who admitted a Battle Master Chief for Doom guy? I'm not answering that because I'm in the middle of the rant and I know what you're trying to do. No. Thank you for renewing your membership, though. We are not distracting from the roasting. That is no. We're gonna roast this guy a little bit. Then I'm gonna talk about why he fucked up. So, but yeah, if you went over some of the names in Death Stranding, by all means, like you got plenty of ammo there, you know. So, but Fat Man though, name is a double entendre, and you're kind of missing all the cool elements of the character. So, but here's and he got roasted for this. So, let me go to the post engagements. I'll get into Orc City. But yeah, this one right here. If you're trying to drag someone, don't post the time that they slam dunked that shit from half court. Because yeah, Fat Man is a great name for what a mad bomber would call himself. You know, yes, he's a big chonky dude, but he also names himself again after the nuke that destroyed Hiroshima, and he's looking to basically cause a massive environmental disaster in the United States. Like it's a good name for a bad guy. So, but then where he fucks up. I criticized him for this. A lot of people criticized him for this. Criticizes Kojima for writing. Writes a fantasy book called The Black Crown. Orc Wars. Yeah, you're right. Kojima is washed. So, and this is from John A. Douglas's writing. Prologue. The Orc City smoldered. Burned down in the wake of battle. The ground soaked in a knuckle's depth of blood and ash. Why is that 2 sentences? Also, knuckles depth of blood and ash? Knuckles depth. Which knuckle? There's a lot of them here. Who the fuck talks about a knuckles depth? Is there some dude? Oh, that's right. Fat Man was Nagasaki. Little boy would have been Hiroshima. Thank you, Diabrion. Or Diabrion. But is that the new measurement? You're poking the ground. Wouldn't a knuckles depth be? Would that'd be a lot less than the grass though? You know, or are we assuming everything is mud? It continues. The savage cries of its defenders, now silent, and still. Well, wait a minute. If they're silent, of course they're still. What? You know what we're going to do? I'm going to be an editor for a minute. I'm going to show you guys why this is a problem. Okay. Gonna grab my marker. Okay. So, the Orc City smoldered, burned down in the wake of battle. Oh, hold on a second. So first note, no shit. If it smoldered, we know that it burned down. What the fuck are you doing? in the wake of battle. The ground soaked in a knuckle's depth of blood and ash. This isn't very deep. The savage cries of its defenders now silent and still. Redundant. Was overseen by the architect of its very destruction. Who the fuck else would oversee it? The Orc Wars were finally over. Bad name for a war. There is nothing more reviled than the orc, said the elvish king. And then the name is probably after this. But this is a big ol' F. It's fucking terrible. This is fucking terrible. Absolutely fucking terrible. John A. Douglas, you are not a very good writer, sir. You should not be doing this. You should... No, do not do this. Stick to your day job, brother. Feels like a shitty first draft, honestly. This shouldn't... Well, this tells me he's not working with an editor. Or at least not one worth their salt. He's just writing it and throwing it out there. Which is sadly like a thing that I'm seeing with some dudes. Because the fact of the matter is like... If I'm editing this, like, a lot of these notes are what... I mean, that F is, like, way too big. A lot of this stuff are things that would not get past the editing phase. Like, the Orc City. Like, the Orc City of what? That's another note. Orc City of what? Cities have names. Like this is like, honestly, this is the sort of thing that I would expect from like second grade me. You know? Like, and this by the way, so I'm gonna use dummy here to kind of make some examples in regards to writing, but the fact of the matter is like, this is fucking terrible. His dictionary of words also isn't any better. Spear ears is the slur for elves. Yeah, because he didn't want to use knife ears. There's nothing. Knife ears is not trademarked. You can use that. But yeah. People kept just like laying into him like, Mr. President, they hit the second Orc City. Some people accuse him of using AI. Let's see here. Imagine failing a dunk so bad you get the whole website talking about Orc City and the Orc War. Oh, that's really 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 bad. Yeah, and this is a really good kind of thing of this. It's like, this fucking sucks, actually, literal coolest thing ever. Pretty much. Knife ears also roll off the tongue better. Yeah, exactly. Um, yourself this one I really like. Your self-described identity is literally coffee consumer, you boring fuck. uh Here's another good one. Weird that a Japanese man would name one of the villains in his politically charged anti-war video game after the atomic bomb that was dropped on Nagasaki. Oh, God. Bro missed the boat and can't see the goat. Yep, for those who don't know, Fat Man is actually a Bomberman reference. Or his boss arena is. Guys whose cinema scenes since Kojima games are always dumb as fuck. Like, it's such a good litmus test. That is true. And this is what I said. I said, it's almost like clockwork. Some dumbass goes after Kojima for something that he doesn't know the context of, and you look at their writing, and it's like if Lord of the Rings was written by ChatGPT on a Nembutal drip. Orc City, Orc Wars, homie, this shit is trash. Absolutely trash. And then they're roasting the cover of his book, which I don't know if this is AI or just like kind of whipped together really quick for cheap. I can't really tell. I'm thinking whipped it together in Photoshop for cheap. Because it looks really bad. That's just a really bad cover. This one's good. To Orc City from Fat Man. So there's been a second orc plane. Here's the reference, my friends. Fat, you know. It's just people. And this is another good one. You're over 30. How the fuck does an atomic bomb reference go over your head like that at that age? Reference to nukes aside, people are named after their appearance, origin, or occupation all the time. You think it's dumb because you are dumb. If this were olden days, they would name you retard man. Yeah. There was one that brought up like the whatchamacallit. Brought up like the naming conventions for his book, but I'm not finding the tweets. But regardless, like though this is one. This yeah. Whines about Kojima's writing thing, says to go play Xenoblade. Yeah. And that's sort of like my big beef with it. It's like, motherfucker, like, dude, you might be fucking retarded. And then one thing that I saw that somebody posted is that, because somebody brought up Douglas Ernst either, and I'm not, meaning to dig on Doug Ernst, but Doug Ernst, like, posted some fucking cringe shit of like it's effectively an image. It's an image of a Spartan in front of like an AI version of Athens doing like the philosopher's pose, but the quote is like a Chinese proverb apparently about not caring what other people think. Have you guys seen these before? These things on Twitter? Like it's always the same thing. It's a Spartan kneeling down or sitting with something behind him that's in flames, and then there's a quote usually from a non-Greek philosopher. So it's like, why did you use a fucking Spartan? So, and then the whole thing is like trying to tell you like trying to tell people like, oh, I totally don't care about what people say about me on social media. Mm-hmm. That's why you're posting about it on social media, right? So I made something. I threw something together. What are we talking about? We are talking about Orc City vodka. Good to see you here, buddy. But I threw something together. Where's it at? Oh, here we go. I call this generic Spartan meme. So here you go. Yes, the finger pose. Thank you, Diabran. So I put this together. Generic quote about how much you totally don't care on social media. Chinese philosopher guy. Don't ask why there's a Spartan here. Please pay attention to .me. Are people still having orcs dressed up as Mexicans? If they have been, I have not seen that lately. But yeah, anytime that I see these cringe philosophy fucking posts, I'm gonna put this up. That Spartan looks AI generated. This one I don't think is. It was on somebody's art station, so but the guy who made it is like he deleted all of his social media, so I guess he just went to go work a normal job. Which in this economy I can't say I blame him. But yeah, it's like this is one of the things that really bothers me. I have been on the receiving end of a spanking on social media. Black Twitter got very angry at me when I criticized the Spider-Woman design for the second Spider-Verse movie. Black Twitter got very angry at me. So my replies were out of this fucking world. So many references. Though the funny thing about it is I changed my username when that happened, just to kind of clown on people. I changed my my username to the infamous Jew Micah Curtis. So that way when people were calling like, oh, this white guy, da 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 da, and it says the infamous Jew, people would look at him sideways. I'm like, it's something that like people during the meme war used to do whenever, like they would get quote tweeted on like a Kotaku article or something like that. They would change their name to something like Kotaku sucks balls or something like that. Because Spider-Woman putting herself in combat while pregnant. Yes. I didn't like the design either. Like, I thought the giant fro was kind of, like, way too stereotypical. Remember seeing a profile for AI voice YouTuber saying they're a rage baiter. Saying a person lately posted something about suing harassers for commenters calling his content AI slop. They're an AI voice YouTuber? Well, I don't know about anything about that, Archon. It's the first I'm hearing about it. But anyway, but this is the thing, like to kind of go over this, and I want to talk about why he's fucking up. Wasn't pregnant Spider-Woman a white woman at one point? Yes, Jessica Drew was actually pregnant. Like, they had a whole comic that featured her being pregnant and trying to fight crime. A lot of people really didn't like it because it's irresponsible. Check out the 1-star Goodreads reviews. Really? Hold on. And then what was the name of his book? The Black Crown? Okay, we'll have a look at this then, real quick. So this is his one book. He's only done this one. It is the dying days of the age of adventures and the orc wars have ended. Let's look at the ratings. He's gotten 29 5-star ratings, 24 star ratings, but the rest of them are 1. Oh no, this would be great. This isn't a love letter to epic fantasy. It's a suicide note. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh, that's brutal, dude. Oh man. Jess Barnett, 19 reviews, 1 follower. Apparently this guy, Martin Wakefield, is an author himself. In the interest of fairness, let's see how he's doing. Bunch of stuff that's not rated. Currently reading the Screwtape Letters. Martin, if you're watching this video, good on you. Screwtape Letters is an amazing book. But 1 rating on The Shapeshifter. So he's not he's not claiming to be anybody, but you know, regardless. Update number 2. This author harasses reviewers because he's a man-child who can't comprehend that a random stranger doesn't like his lackluster attempt at a novel. He also makes grammatical mistakes in his harassment, emphasizing the mistakes in his work are par for the course. I'd like to start off by saying there are few authors as petty as spiteful as J.A. Douglas. Any criticism is a personal affront to him. He denounces the review as filled with lies and misinformation, but anyone with 2 eyes can see that Douglas has the talent and skill of a child who just learned what a story is. God damn. That's brutal. And by the way, let me just say this. To anybody that's out there, if you can't take criticism, like if you legitimately cannot take criticism of your work, and either like find a way to integrate it and make yourself better, or just like if you think it doesn't have value, ignore it. Get out of the game. Like seriously, just get the fuck out of the game, because there are some people that will really love your work, and there's some people who fucking hate it. It's just the name of the game, man. You know. The only time that you should be bothered is if they are trying to affect you personally. You know, and a bad review will affect you, but it's feedback. That's on you, you know. It's either you take it or you leave it, but fucking bothering people about it, you know, and stuff like that, or throwing fucking like hissy fits about it, it's fucking gay. That's some quartering shit. Like quartering does that when people like give his stupid coffee boxes bad reviews. It's like don't fucking do that. Grow up, be a man. Okay, so it says here, before I posted my review, I had shown my friends snippets of his work in order to gauge whether I was being too harsh with my review. It was a general consensus that he was pat on the back and told he was a good and special boy he was, instead of telling him how to improve his prose and dialogue. Now, admittedly, this person who wrote this review is getting some grammatical stuff wrong, so I'm correcting it on the fly, just so you guys know. His friends have led him astray, blatantly misguiding him, or worse, they are as ignorant as he is. While I'm not this Irwin, I have only compassion for the man because clearly he was the only one to have cared enough to point out that Douglas's work was subpar and needed refinement. I hope the pity sales were worth it for Douglas, as his only support are the crabs that will tear him down when he does not do the same for them. He's proven once more that the indie industry is rife with spite, hatred, and sadly ignorance. I completely agree with that sentiment. There's a lot of people in the indie sphere, whether it's novels, comic books, so on and so forth, that will just blow each other all day, and they will not say, hey, this is not as good as you seem to think it is. Funnily enough, one person that Mr. Douglas here thanked for the book was EVS. EVS went on Twitter and like, dude, what is he thanking me for? This guy sucks. I'm like, god damn. Ethan with no simpy. So there are few indie voices as prominent as J.A. Douglas, and high hopes were given in the wake of his crusade against traditional publishing. For all his talk, he fails to walk the walk. From grammatical errors to poor dialogue to lackluster descriptions, it's a comedy of errors that isn't so much as funny as it is a disappointment. Immediately off the bat, the reader's confronted with world building that would be better spent in the back. Clunky, childish names matched with an egregious lack of imagination make it pale in comparison to its clearly superior inspiration. The reader is left in the dark and held by the hand with very little or overt description. In plain, it reads as Dungeons and Dragons or Dragon Age fan fiction, with very little understanding on how these worlds work and why they work in the medium that they do. The dialogue is robotic, with characters spending too much time on avoiding contractions when it would benefit them and using it where it wouldn't. The style wants to be older without the inherent cadence that Shakespearean, or rather medieval dialogue holds. The prose itself is an afterthought of description and action, failing to inform the reader of just who is talking, why they matter, and more importantly, why they should matter to the reader. The first chapter is a back and forth between characters that don't hold any weight and are used as exposition rather than any true storytelling. There lacks a significant catharsis, but more importantly, it avoids the most important rule of storytelling as though it was a plague. Indie publishing is riddled with big talkers and not enough doers. Douglas must learn what it means to move a story along before he talks his talk, because his walk clearly doesn't live up to his words. It was overall a disappointing performance, but it can be improved by a good editor who knows what they're doing, something that a traditional publishing house would have had on staff. Maybe Douglas should invest in one. Edit. Apparently there was an editor. Edit 2, Game of Thrones wannabe rather than Dragon Age. Oof. There was an editor on this? There was an editor on this. Either he didn't listen to them, or the editor had no fucking clue what they were doing. Because I'll say this, like, right now. While I'm out, Orc City, this is ass. Unoriginal, rambling, lacks character development, such a disappointment, especially in a genre I usually love. Don't waste your time. Dreams of adventure and forging a brighter future are best not taken alone. The bravery and loyalty of companions will be tested. The greatest danger looms. This comes across like it was written by AI. Like some of these are like, kind of read like ChatGPT. Like, ChatGPT, let's actually do that. Hold on. Okay. So let's open up ChatGPT. Write me a positive book review for a book called The Orc Wars. Looking through those, that's what this reads like. The Orc Wars, by author name, is a mesmerizing fantasy epic that blends action, intrigue, and character depth in a way that few books in the genre manage to achieve. From the very first page, the reader is thrust into a world on the brink of chaos where the stakes are high and the fate of kingdoms rest on the shoulders of both heroes and unlikely allies. That's what those reviews read like. You know, that's what it was like, man. Just goddamn, which makes me think that's what happened. But no, it's like, speaking as an editor, you know, I do this professionally. The just this paragraph in 2 sentences, and 2 extra sentences is just fucking, it's bad. The Orc City smoldered. Well, Orc City of what? You know, like the Orcish city of horrible. You know, like, give me something. Give me some context here. The Orc City smoldered, burned down. No shit, you just said smoldered. So the Orc City smoldered in the wake of battle. So the Orc City of blah 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 smoldered in the wake of battle. The ground. I missed one. Another thing. The ground was soaked in a knuckle's depth of blood and ash. This isn't very deep. So if you want it to be like grim dark, it needs to be like, there needs to be a different description here. So if they're standing on a battlefield, or if they're standing on the inside of a city, you need to be talking about because blood is a liquid, it runs, so blood, the streets ran with blood, da 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 da, something like that, like a better description, because this isn't much deep. It's like the ground was soaked in the blood of its citizens, while ash rained from the skies. Something like that gives a much more apocalyptic vision to me as the reader. The savage cries of its defenders, now silent and still, this is redundant, now silent, comma, as its ruin was overseen by the architect of its very destruction. This is fucking pointless. As the ruin was overseen by the elvish king, Herbityburb. And then give the war a better name, and then I would say something like this dialogue needs to be something like this just needs to be rewritten, all of this. And hey, Mouse, what's going on, dude? You're right, this bullshit. Give me something else. There's nothing more reviled than the orc. That's fucking cringe. Give me something better than that. Give me, I'm something even simple is I'm glad to see the end of these olive-skinned savages, or something along those lines. So, I don't know who edited this. I have a feeling they just checked spelling, honestly, because this is really bad. But then again, this is sort of the problem. I have experience as an editor. Obviously, I've edited for, a few different websites here and there as a journalist. So I know how to do this stuff. There's a lot of people that just, say they're editors, but they've never actually, edited a fucking thing in their life. Yeah, I can't stand these dreadful creatures, said King Golarion as he sipped his wine. Yeah, things like that are much better descriptors. And this is why I wanted to use this as sort of like a teaching moment, is there is so much more you can do to really immerse someone in this. Because there's also descriptors that are missing here. How does it smell? Well, obviously you're going to smell burning. But the burning of what? The burning of flesh? I don't know if anybody here has ever smelled, skin burning. It has a very distinct smell to it. I would know. I've actually smelled my own flesh burning at one point. I've been burned several times in my lifetime. I actually have a burn scar right here on my stomach. Servant for $5 says, trying to write better, the smoldering Orc City collapsed at the battle's end. Ground soaked in a mix of blood and ash. That's actually better. That more falls into the idea of brevity is the soul of wit. Because oftentimes you don't need 50 sentences. Sometimes you can get it in 5. It depends on what you're trying to do with it. If you're going for more of a Tolkien style, you want to be super descriptive. You want to put yourself in the moment. Yeah, also, is the city made of stone or wood? What district are they in? Are they closer to the center of the city? Is this a city? Is this a walled city? Think if it's orcish, if we're going stereotypical orcs, is this in the mountains? Is this out on the plains? Is it on a cliffside? Well, that would be the mountains, but something along those lines. Is it underground? Things stuff like that. This does not tell me very much, and the first paragraph in any book is your hook. Like, if you can't get somebody in that first paragraph, you're fucked. You're absolutely fucked. And it is something that a lot of people honestly struggle with. Yeah, are they looting the place? Is the Elvish King out of the city or in the city? Boss brings that up. Like, it's really bad. Like, I'm genuinely, like, when I saw this, I'm like, this is sort of like something that I admittedly ran into whenever I started as a critic. Is people would ask me, do you think you could do better? And my answer with a lot of reviews is, I don't know. You know, because, like, there's some, like, for those who don't know, for those who are members, you probably already watched the GQucks review. And if you haven't, then, you know, hopefully you will here soon. You get a week of exclusivity for that. But the GQucks review, like, on that one, I'm pretty tough at segments of it, right? Because I think I'm a pretty harsh critic. But, admittedly, do I think I could make a better Gundam show? I don't know. Honestly. Because I have a ton of respect for the people that made that show, Studio Kara. Because the rebuild of Evangelion movies were very good. And Hideaki Anno is one of my biggest inspirations as a writer. Like, I love him. He's awesome. But it just wasn't one of his better works. It is what it is, you know? Like, that wasn't one of his better ones, but Shin Godzilla was fucking awesome. You know? So, it's one of those things where it's like, unless the writer is, like, really bad, like, the work is really, really bad, I try not to get too heated about it, which is why you don't see me trashing a ton of writers. You see me trashing ones that don't belong where they're at. Like, because one guy, he deleted his comment on the community post, I think. But I criticized him because he said that GQucks was just made by a bunch of Evangelion fans. I'm like, no, it was made by the creator of Evangelion and his team, dude. They're not just Evangelion fans. Like, I know what you're doing here. You know, you're trying to frame it as if it's just a bunch of randos that made a Gundam show that had elements from Evangelion. It's like, no. These were the guys who made Evangelion making this show. You know, and if you don't like that, you don't have to, but you can at least give the devil his due. You know, and that's something that, you know, I find endlessly frustrating whenever it comes to discussion on the internet, is trying to downplay someone's accomplishments just because you don't particularly like what they do. Here's an example. I can't... You'll never hear me say that Gundam Seed was not popular. It was absolutely popular. And I will tell people why it was popular. It was popular because it aimed more at women than anything at a time during the anime boom, where a lot of women were getting into it. And it's a soap opera, for better or worse. You know? Yeah, it made money a lot. I can't argue with that. It's the same thing with NSYNC. Do I think that NSYNC was awesome? Fuck no. I think they sucked. I hated their music. Fucking despised it. But I can't say they couldn't sing. Can't say they couldn't dance or anything like that. They were talented guys. They were able to make money. It's just not my thing. And I can tell you why I don't think it's that great. But Columbia throws in $5. He takes a stab at it. Goes, Azclep stood as a newly christened charred ruin. Once a fortress city blessed with the finest wood and stoneworks, now lost to all but memory. That's a good one. First off, I like Azclep. It's almost like a gives me kind of like an Aztec vibe. So right there what Columbia is getting is he understands the importance of a naming convention, which is actually what the point of today's stream was going to be. Naming conventions do something for fictional universes. They give them a culture. And culture is what people find interesting about these sort of things. You know? But the original Gundam survived because of the female fans. It was totally not the Gunpla. Oddly enough, Archon, that's one of the things that Shirt Dude's next video he's working on for me is the Gundam fuck. My brain's going 50 different directions right now. The urban legends. You know? And that's one of them. So, but let's actually talk about, like, oh, sorry about that. Imagine if, like, in 40K books, all you had were the Space Marines. You know? Then what would you get whenever it comes down to it? You would effectively get this. And that's about it. About all you're going to get. Oh, quick meme. I don't know why I find this one so funny. Anyway. But this is all you would be. Just generic dude. And 40K does not do that. Because they want the reader to buy the miniatures. They want the reader to be interested in the stories, so on and so forth, to keep you spending. Well, how do you do that? Well, what you do is you give each particular group their own culture. And a big part of that is your naming conventions. So let's take a look at some 40K artwork that I have sitting here. So here we have the Carcharodons fighting a Gene Stealer cult. And in this particular bit of artwork, we have Bale Shar here. But from the outside looking in, what you see with these guys is you see their armor. They have a big shark design. They have shark-like colors. They're mostly gray. With some bronze trim here and there. But you also see these Maori or Samoan style designs everywhere as well. You see their armor is like a hodgepodge with a lot of bolts just kind of holding it together. So on and so forth. So what do we have here? Well, we actually have a culture. Calling them the Carcharodons, giving them this sort of Maori feel to them, this Polynesian feel to them, and giving them kind of hodgepodge armor, makes them visually distinctive. It also tells a story. And a big part of where that starts, where like how you get to this, is through your naming conventions. So, like, what are different names of the Carcharodons? Well, you have Tiberos the Red Wake. Obviously, he's their chapter master. But the names of a lot of their ships and things like that tell you about who they are. For example, their main cruiser is called the White Maw, and well, they're sharks, you know. So, actually, wait, no, that's White Maw is the third company. They have another one called the Mate. They have one called the Grey Harvest. They have one called the Void Revenant, the Adamantius. Their weaponry tends to have very intimidating names. Like Tyberos' weaponry is Hunger and Slake. This two-handed chain axe right here that the Reaper Prime uses, this is called Reaper. Then their company champion, Red Tane, he uses weaponry called the Coral Shield and the Void Sword. But like the naming conventions, Company Master Akamu, it's a Maori sounding name. Baal Shar, Manfor, Tekaharangi, Nikora, Tama, Uthulu, Nico, Dorthor, Ruach, Kartli, Waraki, Ari. You know, like these names are giving them some culture. They have a distinctive sound to them. And as such, you give them character through that. That's part of the reason like that's important. Let's take another bit of Warhammer 40k art. The Blood Angels. Now, not every name has to be super complicated, but it has to be impactful. For example, does anybody in the chat know what these gentlemen in the front with the black armor and the red chain swords and weapons, what company they are from? I missed the trash can. Oh, well, I'll get it in a minute. Somebody will get it. Do we not have any Blood Angels fans in here today? I'd be kind of surprised. It's the Death Company. They're called Death Company because effectively they are consigned to die. They are overcome with the Black Rage. All they see in front of them is Horus. The only thing that keeps them from killing their brothers is their chaplains. But they are consigned to die. The angels in the background, these guys here, these are called the Sanguinary Guard. It's not super complicated naming, but it works. And then a lot of the people who are part of the Blood Angels have very regal sounding names. For example, Dante is their chapter master. He's the oldest of all living Space Marines, not including the Primarchs, and not including anyone that got frozen from the Heresy or is a Dreadnought. But Dante lived for 1,600 years. He's actually lived, believe it or not, he's actually lived longer than Sigismund did. But a lot of them have very, again, regal sounding names. Sangalo, Castivarius, Kalale, Belarius, Mephiston. Arnos Carlin. Raphael is a common one. Atheus. There's a kind of a you'll notice that some of them are oftentimes named after poets or painters. It's because a lot of what they do to try to keep the Black Rage at bay is they effectively do arts and crafts. They will paint, they will sculpt, they will do things along those lines effectively to try to keep their sanity. Because a lot of the Blood Angels, to keep the darker part of themselves at bay, they rely a lot on brotherhood, and they rely a lot on that ability to express themselves in a healthy manner. But it gives them a culture. It gives them something interesting like that. The Imperial Fists take a lot from Greco-Roman affectation. But they are also what I would call the most like hard-nosed of them. They also kind of feel, in a weird way, they feel like the Space Marine version of the United States Marine Corps. Like, a lot of them are very, like, square-jawed. A lot of them have crew cuts. That sort of, like, hard-nosed Marine, that's the Imperial Fists. That's their chapter culture. And they love pain. And they have a lot of tolerance for pain. Magic pain gloves, show me the way. I love their Blade Guard veterans, though. They look so cool. The Black Templars. These guys, of course, successor chapter of the Imperial Fists, these guys obviously pull a lot from the Knights Templar, from the Crusades. And their whole thing is the Crusades. Their sword brethren even wear armor that is reminiscent of what Crusaders would wear during the Second and Third Crusades. There's a lot of cloths. The knightly order is a big look that they want to portray as they go with it. So there's a lot of imagery like that. They have a culture. They're distinctive. So the naming convention is significant, and it goes from there. The Salamanders. Obviously from a world of fire. So fire is a big thing. They have to literally kill what is effectively a dragon to get into the chapter. So that those trophies are part of their design. They're, part of one of their catchphrases is, "We are born of fire." So fire is like everywhere with them. They use it quite a bit as weaponry, as you can see here with these Devastators. But they're also craftsmen. See if I can get a good look at the Salamander's champion from Space Marine 2 here. I won't fire up the game, don't worry. But here's the Salamander's champion from Space Marine 2. You'll notice that they have hammers as part of it as well. These teeth here are have been fashioned in a way for scrimshawing. A small hammer just as a bit of iconography. These are actual blacksmith's tongs. They will sometimes carry into the field. And of course the scales from the salamander that they killed to get into the chapter. As you can see, their weaponry is hyper customized and hyper detailed. Their armor is the same way. And the like their whole thing is they are masters of the forge. They are weapon makers and customizers to the point where, I shit you not, the mechanicists get pissed at them sometimes for being as good as they are. Oh yeah, that's right. The Imperial Fists also do scrimshawing as well. They scrimshaw on bones as a hobby. But like these guys are amazing smiths. Any weaponry that they build is usually fucking gorgeous and deadly effective. I mean, Vulcan found a way to put a teleport homer in a warhammer. You know, Vulcan wields the Warhammer 40,000, and he used it all over Conrad Kurz's fucking face. But these naming conventions are the start, effectively, of giving your world a culture. And that's a big part of what you want if you're going to build characterization as it goes forward, is you want to have that sense of culture, that sense that your world is a living, breathing place. And if you can't do that, if the best you've got is Orc City, brother, you just gotta go back to the drawing board. And by the way, if this guy ever watches this video and he freaks out on me, we'll fucking get over it, dude. But if he doesn't freak out on me and he actually listens, the fact of the matter is, man, if you are able to go back to the drawing board and come back a better writer the next time around, and actually have a lot more to the world that you're creating, you know, I really feel that you'll have a much more fulfilling time as a writer. But, you know, from what I understand, the dude is one of those guys on Twitter who criticizes modern writing a lot, which is fine. It's very deserving of criticism. But the fact of the matter is that there are certain things, like, it's not anybody can sit down and write a book. It's just not how it is. Like, not anybody can do it. You know, and yeah, don't throw bricks in glass houses, man. Because I will freely admit, like, there's stuff in my first books, like in Englewood and Three Nights, that I was criticized for. And, you know, I took it to heart. I just said, all right, we got this. We'll improve for the next one. Thank you for saying what you're saying. Like, there was a guy, oddly enough, on Kiwi Farms. I got tagged in a conversation because he criticized the first Englewood book, and I just said to him, it's like, look, I understand where you're coming from, and you know, I'll give you, you know, the plan for the vibe in the future is this, and this. So hopefully, as it goes on, I'll be able to flesh out more of the things that you want to see from it. It's an opportunity. All of it's an opportunity, and you will get roasted. You will absolutely get roasted, but the best thing to do, just take it. Take it like a man. It happens to all of us. Kai the Crusader says, I like every Space Marine chapter has their own culture, names, and ways of doing things. Makes each one stand on its own. Exactly. And that's why a lot of people have such a love for their own, like, their chapter, right? Like, with me, it's obviously the Salamanders. Like, them and the Raven Guard are my two favorites because I love their vibe. You know, obviously the Salamanders, they're big, hulking beasts of men that are also careful craftsmen, and they're bros. Like, they will go out of their way to save civilians. If an orc starts charging a woman and her child, you best bet he's gonna get shoulder checked by a salamander and get the fuck beat out of him. You know? The Raven Guard, also bros, but quiet snipers, stealth experts, Solid Snake if he was a fucking Space Marine, but also lovers of jetpacks. Which, it's a fucking jetpack, you know? How do you not like a jetpack? So, 1 second. Yeah. Sorry, I only woke up like a couple hours ago. Aren't the Ravens emos? Not really. They're very quiet. Yeah, they're moody. Moody is a good word. They have a thing where they're also very overly inclusive as they get older. Where they start to get, They have a lot of chapters have what's called the Primarch's Curse, and each one is different. The Primarch's Curse for the Raven Guard and their successors is that they will tend to become inclusive and secluded. They speak a lot less. They tend to be kind of go off and do their own thing a lot. They'll still work with people, but they're not super chatty or anything like that. They just it's something that they get from their dad, you know. If I had a homebrew chapter, what culture would you base them on? If I ever write for the Black Library Panzernaut, one thing I plan on doing is making a Space Marine chapter that is inspired by Kislev from Warhammer Fantasy. And I was going to call them the Sky Bears. Or something to that nature. The Urson Kylum, you know. But they were going to be a Salamander's successor that is based on an Arctic world that is based on kind of like a Slavic stew. Would you believe that there's a lot of females that would love the salamanders for how nice they are? That is one thing you will see a lot in women who are getting into 40K. A lot of them love the salamanders for just that much. They think they're adorable. Like, I shit you not. Like, they think they're adorable. It's fucking funny. But ultimately, like, that's a big part of it. Is like, you got to create a vibe, you know. And naming conventions are a great way to do that. You know, so you got to come up with that right out of the gate. Like, one example that I did with a book that I'm working on that's probably not going to see the light of day for a while. It was going to be expensive to put together. The mecha I've started writing called the Argonauts. That one obviously takes a lot of inspiration from Greek myth and Jason and the Argonauts. Like, it's actually a mecha version of that story. So a lot of the naming conventions can be Greek based. You know? And it'll have that'll be part of a big part of it. But admittedly the story is like a throwback to stuff like Gundam and Star Blazers and Macross and things along those lines. Not so much Macross, but more Gundam and Star Blazers. I would like to pet this creature. But yeah, that's something that I would I'd like to do. Yep. The salamanders are dragons and you don't mess with the dragon. Pretty much. They treasure people instead of gold. So don't get in the way between a dragon and its treasure. But anyway. It's my thoughts on the Orc City. So what do you guys want to talk about? I'm kind of curious because I don't really know what's going on in the world right now. I haven't had a look. Let's see here. not really a whole lot going on in the world that's really that interesting. So what do you guys got? Boss asks, is the problem with gray morale characters that so much of it is that there's so much of it, or that the people writing them just suck at it? Well, I think a lot of people that try to write characters that are different shades of gray tend to think like what makes someone in a shade of gray, they're apathetic. And it's like, no. Like, the world is complicated. You allow your world to be complicated. You know? Like, here's an example. Warhammer 40k, the Imperium of Man, is very complicated. Right? There are some elements to it that make sense. There are some elements to it that are fucking horrifying. There are some elements to it that can be fucking awesome. There's some things that can be fucking terrible. Hey, Doomstick, I'm doing pretty good, man. Like for example, there's some worlds that you would never want to live on. A hive world would suck. Hive worlds are not fun unless you're in the upper levels. That would be terrible. But there are also places called paradise worlds. There are also worlds that don't have a designation to them that are just normal planets. Like, kind of just like Earth. You know? Agri worlds are kind of eh. I wouldn't mind an agri world. I wouldn't probably like it that much, but I probably wouldn't hate it either. You know? It's not the worst kind of living. An ecclesiarchal world. Those are usually, not too bad either. You know? But, so, there's highs and lows to it. It's complicated. You know? Yeah, it depends on the agri world. Being a guardsman, one thing that doesn't really get said very often is there's some guardsmen on some planets that live long lives. It just depends on what planet you're on. There are actually some guardsmen that live and, like, serve their entire career, have military engagements that they get through, where a lot of their company does survive, and they live to retire and have kids. Like, it's not uncommon. Same thing. There are commissars that never shoot a soldier, and are never put in a position where they have to. In fact, a lot of them in 40k don't like to do it. They will try to avoid it if they can, because I could use this guy. You know, I don't want to have to shoot him, but it kind of is what it is. That's a world with shades of gray. Like, there's a lot of things that are fucked up. Oh, and here's another one. And yeah, there's commissars that people that their units like. There's commissars that are stupid popular as characters. Caiaphas Cain, Commissar Yarrick. You know, people love Yarrick. People love Cain for good reason. With the Space Marines, there are some chapters when you see them, you're like, oh, thank fuck. And there's others when you see them, you're like, oh, god damn it. For example, if the Salamanders, the Raven Guard, the Space Wolves come to your planet, it's a good thing. You're in good hands. The Black Templars, maybe you might be okay. Depends on who their commander is. If it's Grimaldus, oddly enough, the citizenry will probably be okay. He's just going to disagree with the Salamanders on how to take care of them. Because his tactics are very different. But on the flip side, or the Ultramarines as well, the Ultramarines, the Blood Ravens. During the Heresy, oddly enough, the Thousand Sons, which is part of their tragedy, if you saw them, you might be safe. You know, provided nobody goes through the flesh change. Things along those like there's quite a few chapters that are like fuck it, they're good dudes. You know, yeah, if with the Ultramarines, if you have Titus, you're definitely okay. Yeah, Titus is a lot less hard nosed than like someone like Cato Sicarius or even Marnius Calgar, which it's kind of interesting with that. Characterization wise, Titus has a lot in common with Gilliman, more so than Calgar does, and more so than Cato Sicarius. I argue Cato Sicarius is a Dark Knight in an Ultramarine uniform. Or a Dark Angel in an Ultramarine uniform. You know? Yeah, when the Minotaurs show up and you already have Space Marine support, oh, you're fucked. When the Lamenters show up, you as a civilian are in good hands. They're gonna have a bad day because it's the Lamenters. The Blood Angels, you know, as long as you give them their distance, you will be fine because the Blood Angels like to protect civilians. They will do everything that they can to do that. Like, but yeah, the Minotaurs, the Iron Hands, are a bad fucking thing. Like, you're fucked. Get out of there. Get away from them because they don't give a shit about you. The Marines Malevolent. It's another one that's full of dicks. God, what did this fucking Gabriel set? The Flesh Terrors. The Flesh Terrors are fucking terrible. Fuck them. Fucking hate the Flesh Terrors. So on and so forth. Like it just depends. But that's because each chapter has its own culture. Each planet has its own culture, so on and so forth. Like, it's all of those things that, you know, give complication. Too many people, though, think that Shades of Grey means just, like, everybody's apathetic towards everything, and that's just fucking boring. So, if the Shark Boars came, you would be fine. Yes, the one thing that you just have to keep in mind is that they do have the right of the Red Tithe. Now, granted, every chapter has the right to tithe. But usually they will have their own planets to do so. But the Carcharodons are different. You know. So you might get voluntold that you're coming to work for the chapter. But, you know, for some people, getting to serve the angels is a great honor. So, it's still slavery, don't get me wrong, but, you know, the culture is that this is a better place to be than somewhere else. And from what depending on the Carcharodon's captain, they do tend to treat their serfs pretty well. Unless you're dealing with one of the Red Brethren. Those guys are fucking pricks. But yeah, like, if I was told that I had to be a chapter serf on a Salamander's ship, I would not really feel that bad about it, honestly. I would be like, all right, 3 hots and a cot, I get to work in a forge all day, you know. Serving in Space Marine is probably one of the safer jobs to have, honestly. In 40K, yeah, just provided you never get boarded. Because the thing about getting boarded in 40K is that whatever Space Marine comes out of there, they're going to come out spraying. You know, it's a bad day. Hope we'll get story DLC for Space Marine 2, but it doesn't look to be the case. Well, there is some story to the missions that we get, but it's not like super intensive. I think a lot of them are basically there to set up for the third game, which I have a feeling that like one of the bad guys in the third game is going to be the Dark Mechanicum. And what I would really like to have is it's like the Dark Mechanicum and the Emperor's Children. Outside of Tamino, what other fictional writers do you believe can handle adding politics while not demonizing the left, right, and center? Kojima. Kojima does a good job of it. J. Michael Straczynski is another one. J. Michael Straczynski is famous for having friends that were part of the Babylon 5 cast that were open conservatives. And he's still friendly with them to this day. Whoever the writers were on Deep Space Nine is another good example of that. Somebody asked me a question earlier that I thought was really good. Somebody asked about Gungrave. I only played the first one and I didn't really like it that much. There we go. Okay. Sorry about that. My computer's blue screened. Might be an OBS issue. Wouldn't be the first time that OBS has caused it. It seems like every other update for OBS is just cancer. So, anyway. But yes. Let's get one more question. And then we will call it from there. Oh, Explosive CPU candidate Nepgear asked me what I think about the Fate series. I am not super familiar with Fate, but I have imbibed two things from it. Fate Zero and The Garden of Sinners. And I really liked both of them. So I can't say that I'm going to get into a bunch of it in the future, but I do at some point want to do a review of The Garden of Sinners. I thought The Garden of Sinners was really fucking good. Like, I was just like taken aback by it. The gacha, the anime. I don't play gacha games, so I am of the opinion that gacha games are kind of a bit of a way too much of a time waster and a wallet waster. You know, I hate to admit this. I spent enough money on what's the Gundam gacha? Battle Assault, not Battle Assault 2. Battle Operation 2 or whatever it's called. I spent enough money on that one to buy a bunch of video games that I could play and I probably enjoyed more than just to play it and like not enjoy my life at all. Because I never got the mobile suits I wanted, you know, like ever. So it was just fucking pointless. Oh wait, the other Fate thing that I imbibed was the Unlimited Blade Works, because I couldn't stop laughing at the English. I am the bone of my sword. You know, that kind of made me laugh. Nothing against the guy. The dude was trying. You know, it's nothing against him. It's just, you know, there's something kind of silly about it. But I think that's just, like, I imagine whenever I speak Japanese, I probably sound the same fucking way. You know? And which I don't really know a whole lot of Japanese. I need to start my lessons back up. Honestly. Yes, exactly. There's Gunpla to build. I could have bought more Gunpla with like the money I spent. Which, by the way, just for anybody wondering, I do plan on finishing this guy at some point. I am not a big fan of doing painting whenever it's humid outside, because the thinner will evaporate that much faster. So when the humidity finally kind of starts to fuck off, we'll be doing painting streams again. We're gonna finish the Rick Diaz, then we're gonna do the F91. That one we're gonna do a challenge stream for it, because I'm gonna see if I can build it and paint it and decal it within 24 hours. The way I'm gonna do the prep work on it beforehand, and yeah, we will go from there. So, well, guys, this was a good stream. I like to keep these short and sweet, you know, not go too crazy on them. I don't know if there's any way to raid. Nobody that would notice it. So, we're not going to worry about raiding anybody. Oh, here's a question for you guys before I go. Is anybody else addicted to watching body cam arrest footage? Or is it just me? I've been watching a lot of that lately. It is so entertaining. I hate to say that. It is so fucking entertaining to watch body cam arrest footage. But it just is. It just is. But no, I'm going to go lay down because I've been having lower back issues. That might be something that we do at some point, is we might do a stream where I react to body cam footage. But one thing that I also want to do at some point is do a meme review. You know, I think that would be really, really fun to do on a stream. The one thing I have noticed, a lot of people don't like watching me play video games because I get too focused. And because I get so focused, and Boss and if Brain were here could attend, can tell you, when I get really quiet, it's a scary thought. Because I shit you not, when we were playing Space Marine, there was a moment I got dead quiet. Boss and basically, in like, let's say that like the map is here. Actually, let's draw it out. I'm gonna do a pirate software thing here. So let's say that now I'm gonna not do the pirate software thing. I'm not gonna trash Ross from Freeman's Mind, because even though I disagree with Ross, I actually think he's a very nice guy. Let's say this is the map. So, big arena area, there is an upper level to it right here, and then over here there's an upper level right here. So, Boss was playing Space Wolves, so let's give him a gray designator. So Boss and Brain was a salamander. So Boss and Brain are over here. And then over on the opposite side of the map, I'm playing as a Lamenter Blade Guard veteran. And I'm right here. So basically what happens is that at some point during this wave, we all got split apart from each other. So Boss was playing a Vanguard, and Brain is playing a Heavy. And both of them got downed, but then managed to get back up. And what they find later when they waltz over to my position is they come over here at near the end of the round, and all they see is one Lamenter and then a lot of this. The entire time that I was fighting a bunch of Tyranids, I wasn't saying a word. So they finally get to me, and there's just corpses and blood everywhere. That's what happens whenever I get focused in video games. I make a great teammate, not that entertaining as a streamer. I'm a lot better with commentary. I'm a lot better with it. So that's what we will be doing from here on in. But yeah. I do, like, my Blade Guard, I either do, mostly will do, like, a Salamander or a Lamenter. So. Alright. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go, my back has been fucked up lately. So I'm going to go lay down to rest it. My shoulder's been kind of jacked up too. You probably just heard that pop. So I'm going to stretch out, lay down for a bit, and just chill out while the rain goes on and probably get some rest. So I appreciate all you guys coming by and hanging out with me this week. Thank you to those of you who were generous with your super chats. Thank you to the person who became a new member as well. We are at 36 now. Let's see if we can break that. So for those of you out there that are watching, thinking about membership, the members that are in here will tell you it is worth it. And I will be adding more perks the more people that we have. So keep that in mind. Until next time, guys, have yourselves a great night. I'll see you guys next time.